There's guys that go, they look, so you're doing voices, huh? Yes, I've been doing it a long time. I figure I'll give it my shot. I'll give it my shot. And it's like, no, you got to be careful what you say because it's a business of 95% unemployment and your job is looking for work.
There's little microphones. Hi. Whoa. Hello.
Ancient City Comic-Con, how we doing? All right. Welcome to this offering. Like I said, for the next, half hour, 40 minutes, whatever it is, we're gonna go down those couple of rabbit holes and see what we got going on. We're right now driving the stage. Give it up for Isaak Wells. See, you're supposed to wait. I introduce everybody, and I do those things like that. So.
Is this? Oh, it's on.
It's on. Also, please welcome to the stage two amazing elder statesmen. Please give it up for George Lowe and Billy West. Hey. We could if we want.
Okay, I'm going to sit where I can hear who's going where. I'll point my good ear over here. Billy, you going over there?
I'm going to be here, I guess.
Over there. I'll go over there.
I bet you're all wondering why we've gathered you here today.
This is very nice.
That's right.
Testing. Shoppers, Walgreens welcomes you. Be sure to try delicious candies.
And we're coming up to the
Now in our
stage,
suppository aisle.
our lost labs. Give it up for Alexander Polinsky and Jason Marsden.
You're not going to interview me with that, are you?
So, well, you got.
Well, I
One
guess you won't be
down,
needing
4 to
this
go.
anymore.
I see your Schwartz is as big as mine.
You kids go on without me. I got to buy some foot cream.
What's your script? I got some in my bag. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Thanks for hanging out with us. What I want to do is just, we'll go over some of the boilerplate questions and then open up the audience. So, since this is always the inevitable question, let's just get it out of the way. Everybody seems to think that they can do your job because they can impersonate a Monty Python character or they can make a funny voice. So, let's clear the air. What advice do you give to people nowadays if they say, I want to be a voice actor, or I want to take work away from you? You're allowed to say the bus is full.
Good luck. I'm waiting for Billy, and I'm taking big-ass notes on it.
Yeah.
You're going to be waiting a long time.
Well.
Hey, I'll start. It's actual acting, so you got to have a background in actual acting, which undoubtedly takes years to do. And if you commit yourself to that, I like to tell people, oh my God, yeah, you got a great voice. Sure, 10 years. Commit yourself for 10 years, and you'll be able to do something. Anybody want to add anything?
Yes. There's guys that go, they look, so you're doing voices, huh? Yes, I've been doing it a long time. I figure I'll give it my shot. I'll give it my shot. And it's like, no, you got to be careful what you say because it's a business of 95% unemployment and your job is looking for work. So it's like if you could get past that part of it, I think that you'd be ready for pretty much anything. And you got to deliver. You have to have faith in yourself. You have to have faith in your talent. Don't listen to anybody. I never listened to adults that told me to shut up and can you not do that and all that. It's just like I couldn't be contained as a child. I just was Touretting out voices and noises and, and all that stuff that drove everybody nutty is what I wound up doing for a living. All the stuff I learned in school and had shoved down my throat for 12 years would do me absolutely no good in the year 2018. So.
Yeah, I highly recommend that you take improv classes. scene study classes, drama, local theater, or get your friends together and do some sketches. Learn to perform, because it's no good having funny voices. It's great, but it's no use doing funny voices unless you can back it up with a performance.
I just annoyed my family constantly.
So I just
Till they laughed.
I just
keep going.
started making fun of my family's voices because they're from southern Florida. So I started making fun of the basic Big Bubba voice, where it was like,
Everything he says, he talks like this the entire time.
And that's the women.
Hey, you want to go to the mall and smoke some bath salts with me?
but no, I just started making fun of my family, and then I started kind of different. I started on YouTube, but I started doing live action acting, and I went to school for it just for a little bit, and then I just said, screw it, let me pick up a camera, and we started doing it, and I just realized I was doing more voices, and I got more work doing voice work, and then I would say the only thing is go at it 100%, don't hold back. And also what he said.
What did I say? No, I realized that I had a natural ability to do characters and stuff, but you have, like Alexander was saying, you have to learn to act on these words. You might be able to do the wittiest little voices in the world, but if you can't act, they're useless. It's just a collection of high-pitched, cloying, annoying, witty little voices.
And this is my fairy princess.
And this is my astronaut, I mean, but there's a lot of substance, there's a lot of text, and you have to figure out what they call subtext. Is like, somebody will ask you, how do you know what words to emphasize? How do you know where to trail off, and how do you know to take the roller coaster, like peaks and valleys, they call it? Because it makes your speech interesting. Maybe you don't talk like that. I know I don't. But the characters that you are assigned do moves and odd things. Like, say, you guys remember who Yogi Bear was? Okay, well, if I didn't say any words and I was just doing the voice, you could tell it was him by the musicality of it. And that's what I keep in my head if someone says, hey, you're going to dial up some of those characters from 20 years ago you did? I don't know, I'm 66, I don't know if I can do a 25-year-old boy anymore. But it's not even that. It's like in your head, you remember the musicality and the melody of a character. So Yogi Bear was like, na 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 na, na 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 na. And he's like, yeah. Whether you're rich or poor, it's always nice to have money. So that's what I mean by the melody. Each character has a melody. The professor is always, and then you add the words. But you've got the musicality going. Zoidberg like, blah, 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 blah. Trump is, zhazh, 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 zhazh. And who's to say you can't take, like, one piece of the Trump pie, and smash it up against a piece of somebody else's pie, showbiz periphery or whatever you want, and then you come up with new voices. And another thing, if you do a lousy impression, you go, I can't do impressions. All my impressions suck. Well, your sucky impression of somebody is a voice no one's ever heard before. So there's a new character for you to use. Yeah, resourcefulness.
I'm the odd man out here, literally odd, but I fell into it, just like with my art. I have a secret life as an artist, which, believe it or not, there's a dealer, and there are a handful of really good museums, and I fell into that. I'm totally self-taught all the way, and I remember somebody at Turner one day, I had lost a gig in radio, and I'm walking around going, that's the end. You got Jim Morrison playing in your head, this is the end, beautiful friend, the end. See if you can bribe the secretary at Turner and get in. And the thing is, I knew a lady who had produced a Mayberry reunion. That was my ticket in the door. I waddle in. They had everybody except Andy. How heartbreaking is that? Even Hal Smith came in. The great Hal Smith came in doing Otis the Drunk. Yeah. And Hal, I think, was like the first Barney Rubble, wasn't he?
I don't know about that,
but I fell into it.
What did I do? Was it my breath?
They kept giving... Oops, sorry. They kept giving me these stupid scripts. Do Blues Brothers, and do Animal House, and do Beastmaster, and do the same 9 things we constantly... Walking Tall, tomorrow on TBS. The Blues Brothers, tomorrow on TBS. And then I started getting sarcastic and going, Animal House, again. The Blues Brothers, again. Beastmaster, again. With 6, you get egg roll, a special presentation. Wait a minute, 70 years old, isn't it?
As brilliant as
Even
that
Phyllis
is.
Diller looked hot when they were shooting With 6, you get egg roll. But I fell into it, and people kept saying, this guy's fun. He goes off the page, he plays, he likes to do unusual things. He's not shy about blowing out a line and making it funnier. Don't use it if you don't want it. You don't have to. But that's when people kept going, hey, Cartoon Network's starting. Have you read this guy? And Clay Croker, rest his soul, Clay told me a really weird story. I forget everything. Clay said when I did the audition, they had a curtain up, so you couldn't see anything. It's all Wizard of Oz. And I walk in, I just totally take the script, and I start dismantling it. And I said, what's he supposed to sound like, a moron or something? And you could hear the side of the glass going, and they kept using the outtakes, and then it became a thing. But I have no flight plan filed. I fell into all of it. And one thing led to the next. I became the disgusting unicorn on Robot Chicken. Started with radio, though. You barge into a radio station. Not so easy now, but now you just tell them, oh, I'll hang banners. I'll mop up the vomit from the drunks who have too many hot dogs at the car dealership. I'll do all of that for you. It's done. And then the next thing you know, you're there. It's like, well, Phil's at home with hemorrhoids, something terrible today. Come in here and read this line for Bob Gherkin Chevrolet. And you'd be surprised how many times you can start that way. I'm shutting up now. Goodbye.
No, radio was the best place for a voice performer to be. You know, it's like, where else do you go if you're a guy that has, like, wants to do voices and that? I wound up in radio by accident. Same thing. But there was always this thing pulling you no matter what you chose to do. I wanted to be the best guitarist and singer in the world, you know, and I was living that life, and they took away my spandex license in 1970. So I said, now what are you going to do, big shot? Yes. Yeah. So, you know,
very weird.
Whatever you had planned, yeah.
I was very serious about becoming a doctor at one point, and I had a friend. I was doing PM Magazine in St. Petersburg, Florida, and they decided to go head-to-head with this new upstart, Entertainment Tonight. You know,
They lost.
Our big story would be the end of the show. Coming up at the end of the show, a man who makes airline lights out of crab shells. That's our biggie. That's the last position. But the whole time I would get done there and go to one hospital, thankfully now defunct, so they can't get me. Morton Plant is still in business, and I had a friend who was head of thoracics, and he would say, hey, you want to see a subtotal gastrectomy? So I almost got pulled the other way, but a little bit of my Brazilian doctor friend became father from the Brack show. So I stole even from that environment.
You guys remember that? You remember that. Space Ghost, yeah.
They'd have been hoisting them out in body bags by the hundreds if I had become a doctor. Because you have to go. Like, you look at a guy like Billy who comes into an ER, you've got to figure out, okay, here's a male, I'm being kind, 52 years old, strong as a bull, maybe 5'12".
No, you know what it is? When you go in there now, you don't know who's a professional and who isn't. It might be open mic night in the operating room.
So you're like the guy at the carnival. You have to guess their weight. That's the first thing. And
Yes.
I'm thinking, you guess the weight, you got to get, like, some sort of a gift off the top shelf. But then you have to convert that to kilograms and then that to cc's. My people would have been extremely happy with morphine.
Yeah, yeah.
Billy will be sitting there going, he had me down as a 200-pound man. Too much morphine.
One of the, again, other people ask me, it's like, well, how to get on in. I say the biggest things I've seen is, one, understand if you're going to pursue this, that it's not just the cartoons. I mean, you can go out to Dallas and be a Funimation bum, and eventually, you might get tapped for something. And if you just want to scream, Hadouken, boom, you could do that. But the life is Chrome toothpaste, gets teeth whiter. I mean, you've got to have a straight voice. if you want to pursue that. You got to be ready to do PSAs. At another convention, I do a workshop, and I give everybody sides, and there's no anime, screaming, nothing. It's PSAs and commercials and stuff like that. And if you want to make a living at it, that's one thing you got to do. And the other thing I always recommend to everybody is develop your ear. You know, it's just like, it's not about talking, it's about listening. Not only listen to that, but also listening if you have the opportunity to still do like a live audition and a live reading, which is, it still happens occasionally, as I understand it. You come on in and read stuff as opposed to overly too. Listen to, look at their reactions, this is what they're hearing, and above and beyond all else, I say this to any age, listen to stuff beyond your years. Old cartoons, old movies. Billy, you're a huge fan of old-timey radio shows, stuff like that. I am too, and I pulled inspiration from that.
But you know what? You can get material from old stuff that was considered to be very straight-laced. And those guys who would come in all dressed up for work and cologne, and it's like, you know, this portion of our show is brought to you by Bluetooth. Now brain cancer comes in a new color, blue. Bluetooth. You know, and then there'd be like these guys that would make mistakes on the air, and they wanted to take their lives because nobody was supposed to ever slip up. And it was like, that is all.
Larry Storch had a cool thing. He had everything very, very, very defined, and he kept it all in a little book, and he would numbers to it. And I think when he was doing actual voices. And when he was doing one of the, because he did a bazillion things for a Filmation, they were like, oh, we want it like this character. He's like, who is that? And then he pulled out the book and flipped through it. Oh, that's number 37. Right, okay, got it.
What do you mean, like real peripheral names and stuff?
Like he would, like there's, oh, we want something like this celebrity, and I forget what it was. And he's like, I don't know who, this sounds familiar. And he flipped through his little book. Oh, voice number 37. Right, you know. Where it was like, oh, you want a Sidney Greenstreet or something like that.
Okay, Franchot Tone.
Yeah.
Adolph Manju.
Yeah. But I loved how he
Walter
had these,
Slazak.
Yeah. What a character.
He even knows. See, this is what I like about you.
So that, and getting on in, and here's the other thing that a lot of people don't really get into. When you do get that toehold in, what's the secret to remaining in? Like maybe you booked one or two things, and it's like, and now what? What did you guys?
You gotta treat each episode like the audition. You gotta keep doing maybe even more work to, like Billy was saying, doing the subtext and figure things out, because you might get relaxed. You know, I know this character, but the characters develop. So you know, in order to keep it interesting, like I do a kids show called Blaze and the Monster Machines, and I figured it was. Because that show in itself, the kids shows are most of them are run by toys. They want to sell plastic. And so I figured, yeah, it's the reality. So I figured right away I would figure out a really awesome, like, kind of catchphrase, cheesy as it sounds, but, you know, Darrington has this really, you know, Darrington! Like, kind of like Ethel Merman, and who's the guy on the motorcycle that jumps out, Evil Knievel. Mixture of Ethel Merman and Evil Knievel. So it's like figuring out like something for the character that's like uniquely that character that no one can copy is like really solid. You know, do it, try to find it.
You have to dismantle some voices that exist. Like if you're gonna, I'll give you an example. When I was working on Futurama, they had Who Wants to Do Nixon? You know, it's always a toss-up. Maurice LaMarche is sitting there; he's a killer. And then there's this other Dave Herman; he's a killer. So it's always like, who wants to do it? It's up for grabs, and they go, Mo, give it a shot, and then Dave, give it a shot. Phil Lamar, give it a shot. And so what I did was, I remember when I was watching the first televised presidential debate. There was only like 2.5 channels when I was 10, you know, and one would barely come in, and it was always black and white. But Kennedy. Here he is. He looked like a game show host. He had that buttered toast hair and that ultra bright smile and that little gleam in his eye. And Nixon looked like a sweat hog. You know, it's like, this is television. This was going to shape how the future of everything goes, is what you look like. And Nixon, the Kennedy people told the cameraman, do extreme close-ups on Nixon. So it was totally unfair, but he was a mess anyway, and you could see his pores with hair growing. You know, you could see his matted hair. He's sweating, and he's like, arr, arr, arr. You know, and Kennedy's, my fellow Americans, And Nixon's like, well, I don't know if you're president tonight, so, you know, and he's wiping the sweat. And I said, Mom, he's going to turn into a werewolf. Because it reminded me of Larry Talbot, you know. Whatever you hear behind that door, don't open it. Lock me in. Arroo! Arroo! So I put that, arroo, you know, like, and the writers said, why do you do that? And I explained why. But I said, you don't like it? No, we love it. We just didn't know why you did that. You know, but in other words, a Nixon impression would have been as boring as, you know, I don't know what, but Trump impression, yeah. We're going to turn the homeless into cheese and feed the hungry. How about that, huh?
Butthole lip thing that he does.
Yeah.
I have the biggest hands ever.
When he dies, he's going to be still tweeting from the grave. I had the biggest funeral. Another tweet would be like, you know, the worms, these are the best worms that ever ate a human cadaver. They're the best, they're the biggest worms you ever saw.
Bigger than Obama's. He's not dead.
I wonder what kind of gargantuan crypt he's going to want.
These worms are great people.
Some
Nice people.
huge pyramid thing like him or something.
It's already being built as a wall. You can build around it. Yeah, I killed that joke.
We could talk about that for an hour.
Oh, yeah.
Because he always starts out, it's like, if you look at what's going around, which means I have nothing to say. I'm dying to think of something, but if you look at what's going on, but he won't tell you what's going on and comment on it. It's like Rumsfeld interviewing himself, you know. Do I think there's going to be a 100-year war? Possibly. He would interview himself to keep the interviewers from asking him tough stuff.
Ask and answer his
I don't
own
know if we get to
question.
see that. But I mean, here's an example to answer your question. I mean, Billy's like one of the most unique, versatile actors we've got, and what he's explaining to you is like he's approaching things from way out of the box. Again, if you want to do this, like there's so much competition. What's going to separate you from your competition? And I don't mean that as like a heavy word. And there's really no competition in voice acting where everyone's so unique. You know, like if Billy and I go out for the same role, or me and Alex, and one of them get it, it's not because, you know, I suck. Their unique personality is what the producer wanted for that role, you know? And not to like demystify it or anything, but like it's like Vegas. You know, our business is like Vegas. Maybe an actor is like being a professional like blackjack player. Gambler. You go to the game, you're great at playing blackjack, you love playing blackjack, you go to the table, you play, and you'll hit, and maybe you'll ride that for a little while, and then maybe you'll sit at the table and you'll just lose, you know, hand after hand after hand. Why do you keep doing it? Because you have to fucking love it. You gotta love it. You gotta trust that you are really good at what you do, and that there is a place for you in this business with nothing but confidence, and that's what's gonna keep you moving forward.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
I was going to say something about that. It's like if you have some kind of a character, to keep it from lying there and rolling into a ditch and dying, I mentioned earlier you have to put little twists on things. Like I made fun of all the big dumb announcers from the 40s and 30s, you know, that took it very serious. The Coca-Cola Concert Series, you know. And, you know, Remington for the smoothest shave. And these guys all talk like they had a board up their ass. And
enormous man's trousers become home for homeless.
there he is. But, I mean, it's like those guys are fun to make fun of. And what I did I came up in radio, and I remember all these disc jockeys that had nothing to say, so they would stretch out their words. They'd make themselves at home and go, well, it's 30 minutes on the downside of 8 a.m., you know.
Was it the last?
What?
Like at the stretch.
The stretch would be anywhere. It's like, you know, I know Led Zeppelin's coming to the concert that we got great tickets for you, and, you know, he's looking at a clock and he's sweating bullets. He's saying, I got nothing to say. I got nothing. That's the mark of somebody with nothing to say. Jean Pirro, Judge Jeanine Pirro on Fox, she'll go, wah, 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 wah. Wah, 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 wah. Jean has nothing to say, so it takes her 30 minutes to say something that could be said in 4 minutes.
Are you having the trouble I'm having with the CBS guy? What I do?
You
Turn it
just-
off?
There you
All right,
go.
I turned the damn thing off. There's 44 years for you kids. You too can be an up. Wait a minute. Okay, no, it's
this
not
on?
gone. No, the CBS guy drives me nuts. And I even had a lady come up one year to me in Atlanta who was like over all the owned and operated affiliates. And she says, he's making me nuts too. It's the guy who's always, in all new NCIS CBS Tuesday.
Oh.
This week on Colbert, Madeline Stowe, actor Josh Hartnett, plus Thursday a bowl of coleslaw.
You know what that is.
The guy
They go through phases.
$2 million a year.
But remember there was a phase about 10, 15 years ago where it was the time of the brain dead announcer that would go, hey. You know, everybody started a commercial with, hey. You know, if it doesn't get in your face, it doesn't belong all over the place. You know, you sound like your cellmate in jail.
The only surviving entity at CBS now that I know of is the original news guy who is still the only one who can make 60 Minutes sound exciting.
I always wanted to be the then guy. You know, they'd say, on an all new, who's got the butter? And then there'd be the guy who made the most money then. You know.
One person must find a way to crawl in somebody's mouth and out the other end.
One man. It's always one man.
The dirty voice.
They killed his family.
Time is running out. Time is always running out.
He was a taco vendor.
Unpleasant Voyage, filmed in Stinkovision.
Hey Jay, can I,
stuck in the duodenum, Billy. Come help me.
Jason, can I talk about your Toon Disney, or is that off the?
I want to hear your.
Well, Jason did the intros for Toon Disney for years, and he, you know, best friends since we were 13. He would like kind of lament, be like, this freaking job is like, you know, not his favorite, but it was really regular work, and everybody in voiceover, you know, would be like, oh, that's great, you know, you go in multiple times a week, you get paid, it's great. And Jason was like, yeah, but it's this voice, and they don't deviate. Is this okay that I'm saying this? Sure. But they don't deviate from this thing, and I want to do other stuff, but they don't deviate. So I think I'm gonna let the job go. Maybe you want it. Here's some tapes of me doing it, and you check it out, and you get this great gig, because I don't want it. And I said, oh, wow, this is really incredible. So I listened to his tapes, and I was like, oh fuck.
Next up on Toon Disney, there's some stuff happening here, and
I was like, Jason, do you know what this is? He's like, this is like mind warfare. Like that voice, that voice is fucking crazy, scary. You know what it is? I recognize that kid. That's the kid who's on this playground.
you can't touch my toys. You're not going to touch them ever. My parents are rich.
And I'm like, oh no, I want to touch the toy. And it makes all those kids go like, I want to watch the thing. It's jealousy. And I was like, screw that. But hey, if you want to get one of those jobs, yeah, do that.
Didn't you get sick of saying cool? Every ad agency writes copy, and it's like, that's seductive to kids. I heard someone actually say that. The kid, there always has to be a kid that goes, cool.
Cool.
You know, and it's like I heard a guy say, you see, that's very seductive to kids.
That jealousy
Seductive
thing.
to kids.
Jealousy is like, you can't hit them in all these different ways, but you can hit them with jealousy. Food works.
Yeah.
Well, the trope I always notice is that their parents are always portrayed as the clueless, and they're not in on the cool thing they're selling you on. Grown-ups, they just don't get it.
You control. Oh, it's control and power are two words that always show up in every toy commercial ever. You control the action. You know, what is it that kids don't have? Control or power. So they use those words over and again. And it's powered by you. Yeah.
Started with He-Man.
Yeah.
Like, because I don't seem like this elitist actor. Like, yes, we're gamblers, and you know, you take whatever job's coming to you, and yes, and I would brag how I quit this job, but then I realized, you know, a lot of people really would love to have this job. It's stability. It's you know, your voice is heard every day. But I'm also a proponent of like, I like to do what fuels me, makes me happy, and it got to a point after 5 years I just was not happy, pretending to be happy and excited every day on Toon Disney. Having to tune, and I would like elongate the tune sometimes just to make it. I mean, then they would pack more words in it in like 15 seconds, and it was exhausting. And I hated being on call, like because you have to be, you know. oh, can you come in tonight and do this spot? Like, no, I'm having dinner with my family. I go, no, you signed this note. It's not even a contract. It's a note that says that we have you on demand. I don't know if I like that. I want to be freelancing, but yeah, that's just me defending myself. It has nothing to do with.
No, it was a great job. It's just like I like this story because for actors, you have to know when you have to turn on these specific emotions that don't naturally track towards the dialogue, and you're gonna be like, well, what is this? And like as an actor, you got to know that we're in the business of creating a reality for people that some of them are going to accept it as reality, some of it are going to be swayed and it's seductive, and some are just going to listen to it, and for a group of people, that tone of voice really works for them, and we kind of gotta know these tricks, and nobody wants to sell credit cards to people, but sometimes that's our job, and in order to support your family and get the job, you gotta know these tricks. It's part of
But
your
everybody
craft.
loves M&Ms, and just want to say, yeah.
I keep them, they give them to me, I keep them, and then they sit in like a figurine for 12 years, and I go, wait a minute, there's stuff in there.
I'll still eat them. They're still good.
Water, my old friend, water.
Say,
Cheers for the water guy.
Art Simmons, everybody.
Thank you.
And sometime tomorrow.
I'm
a
70%
bathroom.
water. It's all good.
see, now I got images in my head of like somebody at Disney going like, quick, flash the James Marsden signal. Right, Jason. I said Jason. Sorry, Cyclops.
Does anybody in here have any aspirations?
How many people kill you on that?
Oh, it happens all the time. It slips out. I understand. Because when you hear Marsden and you think of him, I'm sure you're thinking of him like right now. You're looking at me, but you're thinking.
Well, yeah, get those on too. So that.
All right. What was the question?
No, the Marsden signal, everything else, but it's past. So let's we get some. Go through it.
Yeah, I was gonna throw this out there. There's probably people here that are wanting to do that or interested to be, doing voice work and stuff. And I wanted to, because your first original answer before we fluxed into whatever we were just talking about, was a lot of the times I think, and some of you can possibly agree, is a lot of them are deterred by not getting it. And so I think one of the first things that I ever learned how to do was just let it go. And like, for instance, I don't know if anybody's ever tried to go out for a voice part before and they didn't get it. And I know a lot of people who are starting in voice acting kind of really it really gets to them that they didn't get the part. They're like, oh, I thought I was good enough, I did the best I could, and they pick some other guy that I think is personally shittier than I am. But it's not up to you, and I think a lot of times when they're trying to do that, you just gotta let it go, because again, when Bill was talking about give it to Phil Lamar, or give it to that, or whoever gets it. I think a lot of people are really deterred by not getting the part. And when I first started, I tried.
That means they're weak.
I auditioned for I auditioned. It felt like for 5,000 parts before I got one.
Well,
and
yeah.
I didn't care. I just wanted to, I wanted to do it. And then finally, when I got one, it really made all those failures like kind of a learning experience.
Yeah.
That's my personal thing. Is anybody, and I know you're going to ask this, but is anybody here like wanting to go into voice
acting, voice acting.
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah.
All 7 of you.
I tell my students you're going to go on 100 auditions before you get a job, and if you're lucky, you'll get 10% callbacks. But you should be willing to go on 100 auditions, not to be rejected 100 times, but to train yourself to audition. It's a whole other thing.
Can I offer something on that note? The person, when you show up at these offices where you're going to audition, you walk in, there's a room full of talented people. Some are being jerks, and some are just, they can't wait to contribute. They try to keep it clean, play a clean game. And some people try to psych you out. And it's like you can't be diverted by any nonsense. You got to concentrate. And the thing about it is the guy who keeps, or the woman who keeps opening the door and says, who's next? When you're brand new, you tend to look at them with their arms folded like they're there to keep you out of show business. And it's just not true. They're praying that you're the one. They say, I hope this guy is the guy, man. My life would be so much easier. So that it's like there's an openness. There isn't this automatic, like me against them. You know, I'll knock them out of their socks, and you know, and that ruins your purity in your product. That negative stuff. Yeah.
I always tell everybody, especially at the beginning, always go into it like this. You're not auditioning for that part. You're auditioning to be invited to come back and audition again. You know, you throw in something against the wall there, and I've gotten several roles because of something I did at a different audition, and like I get a phone call, hey, did you come on in and read for this? Yeah, you did that crazy thing with that one voice? Yeah, I did. Oh, good. We have a part for you with that. You know, you never know when it boomerangs around. That's why it's always nice, and the only thing you have to be afraid of is just the words thank you. Because then you're done. And then you say, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming in.
The one thing you never do is don't come back after the fact and ask them how you did. Because neediness has a particular stench.
I feel like I did really good. Do you think I got the role?
Yeah, but that's loser dust, and no one wants to be near that dust, you know? It's neediness that kind of stinks up the joint.
And don't apologize. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me do that. Just keep going. Whatever note they give you, whatever, just take it, adjust it, keep going.
You reminded me of something. On that note, it's just if you fuck up, don't apologize. Just say, you know, I think I could do something. Do you mind if I try another one? And mostly people are so sweet. You know, actors are scared, and when we're performing, 5 seconds feels like 25 seconds. So we think we've been in there for a fucking hour. And it's been 3 minutes, and the person's literally praying that we're going to be the answer to their casting problem. So if you go, you know, I didn't hit it, I think I could do it a little different, they're going, oh, good, do it, fine, well, I'll only send that one. They're usually really sweet about it, right? In voiceover especially.
Yeah. You know, it's like, and if you want to joke around, you'll do something and you don't hear anything. It doesn't mean they don't like you. They're making notes, and they're deliberating and ruminating with their ideas, and they might give you a suggestion and you can't get all flustered. I just used my best thing. Don't ever save up your best joke so you can stick it in anywhere you get a chance, you know. You can't swing with every pitch. You gotta be well thought out before you decide to show your talent.
Can I ask a question of the panel? 2 questions. 1, how many of you coach, first of all? And 2, for the audience, like, how much should they improv? Because the script is a template for something that people have really, like, worked on, and then if you go and change it, like, I just want your opinion. I know what I do. Are you doing
counter-programming over there? I'm hearing all kinds of little stuffs. Am I dreaming? Is that
might just be people in the drive outside the door.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
I have super
ambient noise.
I was gonna say I never coached full of advice. If anybody ever asks me, there are actresses and actors and that will come over and say, hey, I just wanted to ask you a question. And it's like, you're more than helpful. You love them. You hope they up their game because the same tide raises all boats. The better everybody does, the better you do. And you get inspired by them and vice versa. But if you, let's see, what was I gonna say? Shucky darn, right? Improv. Oh, it's coaching and all that. I wanted to do scene study. I went to New York and I was on the Howard Stern show. Hey, Robin, I just farted. You know, some fun. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Jackie, whoop it. So I would, went to Stella Adler School in New York City. Nice. I figured, if you're going to learn scene study, you might as well go in and try to, meet the madame. Yeah. And she came into one of our classes and she taught something very valuable to everybody. She came in and she was in the middle of a talk and she said, so in other words, it's not about words, it's about ideas. She pulls up her top and I went, ah!
Yeah, I don't want to say anything inappropriate with young people about, but am I the only one here that's oddly turned on right now?
No.
We all are.
You would think a man of your age, those things wouldn't
you're not
be
alone,
so
George.
Still, but
I think we all love Billy West.
If you ask me.
We got that on camera.
No, that's like a young Sally Fields right there.
But I will always remember that she did that because she said something very valuable. It's not about the words. The words you have to know, the rules you have to understand and respect so you can smash everything to smithereens and be a true creator. But you don't do that until you please the writers, you satisfy the written word, you satisfy the director, you satisfy everybody. And sometimes they'll go, do you have any idea? You want to try something? And it's like, oh boy. But it could wind up on the dustbin, on the floor. But sometimes they leave it in and they go, you made this better. And you feel so good that you brought something to the table instead of being like a drone. You don't want it to be like that. You want to be part of that creative process. So there.
Father happened sort of like that on Space Ghost. They had read, I guess they were mad at me. They didn't want to give me any more money because of Space Ghost. He's made plenty. Bring somebody new in. And they had read everybody and his brother for the miniature 2-foot-tall father on the Brack Show. And finally somebody caved and said, we're not getting there. Bring in the bald guy who plays. And so here comes Fat Boy. And because the father's like that big, they thought, okay, well, he's going to come in with somebody like, I didn't do that. I went the other way. I said, hey, baby, what's for supper? Why don't you bring that fine ass of yours over here and bring Daddy some cream corn?
That's right.
And they were like, no. What else do you have? Well, then I started talking like my friend who has a PhD in Jungian psychology. He's a sand play therapist, very prominent. And they said, no, that sounds a little too gay to lease. And then I thought, the third time I finally went,
Mother, tonight I think perhaps we could go to the Festival of Feet.
And what Billy says is exactly right. Whatever you pick up on the outside, like today, I can't get my voice high anymore. I was trying to do the CBS weatherman here, who spoke in bursts. It's like, all of that is going to push off later today, and then we'll have some more warm air pouring in from the south. That's Miami. We're going to feel it here all the way in Jacksonville. I can't get my voice high anymore, but that's how Father happened. It was that, don't go in with what you think they want. Go in with your guns blazing.
Openness.
And choose your own palette. Even if it's the girl, girl with speech impediment, save 70 from crashing bus. Top. Sorry.
It's almost like a gimmick. You know what I mean? Like, who's that woman, Kelly? Megyn Kelly? She used to be on Fox News. And you know what she did that was different from every other person there talking to you? She had this gimmick of cocking her head to one side, like this, while she was talking. And it made her different from every other person that just sat there and talked at you. It's like I thought that was a brilliant move. It's like, wait a minute, what is about her that I just kind of get stuck on and I want to watch her? She hasn't got nothing to say, but she just stood there with her head to one side, like almost like in judgment of everybody. And I loved it. I love stuff like that. But you can do that stuff vocally too. It's like you got to keep expanding your bag of tricks. George is very varied. I mean, facile and a whole palette of colors, of voices and dialects, and that's kind of what you want to be because you'll expand your chances of getting jobs. You know what I mean? It's like, can you do this, this German guy who has pleurisy and, it's like, oh, yeah, I think so. You always say yes anyway, but you give it a try. You got to keep expanding your bag of tricks. Of course, there are some guys who never had to do that, like Mason Adams. He sounded like your old grandfather. He's like, with a name like Schmuckers, it's got to be good. And he did that voice for everything. At Speedy Muffler, you're a somebody. You remember him? Yeah, I know. Lowe Grant.
I need you to get on top of that story for me, Lou.
Yes. But he lived to be 80, and he was still working it, I think, around 80.
I had a friend in Atlanta who could do a drunk Mason Adams. It was great.
Oh, really?
Lou, come in there and bring me another one of those limes for this vodka. Are we reading again? All right.
French's mustard. And Casey Kasem kind of copied Mason Adams. Coming up on American Top 40, You know, it's the same cadence, same melody, and it worked for him because those guys didn't have to do varied. Always happy. Except for a goddamn death dedication. Is John on the phone? Get John on the phone. The phone. Yeah. He was absolutely right. Orson Welles in those drunk takes that you hear about him, it's like, well, isn't that the fun of it? You know, he's a Shakespearean actor. He wrote movies. He could do anything, and now he's reading for.
Could you just do one more, please, Orson?
Yeah, beef burgers. Yeah, and these two directors are like, no, it's really.
But he likes the peas.
It's all right. It's all right, Orson. It's really quite fine. No, I wouldn't. Bring me a jury and show me how you can say in July, and I'll go down on you. And he was mad at these two copywriters, you know. But he was right. It's a total dress down of these two guys. What is it that you want? In the depths of your ignorance, what is it? Because I don't see it.
You're losing your minds, fellas. I wouldn't direct any actor in Shakespeare the way you guys are.
But he took these
What are you
people
doing
down, and luckily there was a tape that we could all like cherish, and it's like a museum artifact. It's like living art every time you turn it on. How he dressed these two neophytes down. They were totally green behind the ears. They were fine with everything as soon as he started bawling them out.
Every winter under the snow, peas grow in Mrs. Anderson's backyard. That's such a lovely thing you've done there, and then you go and you muck it up with the crumb crisp coating and...
My favorite is I take direction from one person under protest.
Yes.
Well, if you show me in the English dictionary where "pontifex" is, I'll go down on you. You forgive me for saying.
He said, well, you know, it's like, we didn't say that. No, you didn't say it. He said it. Your friend.
And who the hell are you anyway? Well, I'm the engineer.
Why are you even directing me? Why are you talking?
I heard a slight gonk.
What is going on? Well, you know, Jack Palance was doing ads. This is radio, so again, we're talking about Sonics and the love of it that we all share. And Jack Palance was like, you know, Old El Paso tacos. You know, and they were you couldn't hear them giving him directions. You could only imagine what they were saying to him. And he'd go, and Old El Paso, wait a minute. Lady, look, lady, I've been in this business 50 fucking years. And I don't take all the directions from you when I don't even know who the hell you are. So let's be done with this because we are close to burnout. And then nothing. But you could tell what the person was saying to him because he went, bullshit. And they probably said to him, you could almost hear them, but you can't hear anything. It's like, no, we love everything you do. You love everything. That's loving nothing. You know, he was, Ernie was another one. You have to explain that.
No, I didn't know her. I worked.
But you know all the stuff.
One of the funnier sessions a buddy of mine had, he actually had the Stones to try and direct Ernie. And so Ernie's like, tomorrow night, Ernie was Love Boat, remember? Love Boat. Tomorrow on an all-new Love Boat, Andy Warhol, special guest. This is going to be too goddamn long.
Yes.
And then they're sitting there trying to rewrite it.
But
why don't you just
outtakes
get
are the
Andy
best.
Warhol? Who cares?
He takes them to school, and I love hearing the outtakes to that
He would.
stuff. You're not supposed to hear, but he was the guy that would do the Love Boat. You know, he had a delivery, and people would get in his way, and he'd go, you know, it's like Orson Welles. The right way is the way I'm doing it. You know, and you got to pin people's ears back. But you know what? You can only do that if you're Orson Welles or you know, the other guy there that I mentioned. But you got to have respect for these people. You got to sit there and go. You're secretly going, okay, I'll sit here while you guys pick the pepper out of ant shit and figure it out, and I'm standing by. I got all day. You don't say that to them. You know, it's going on up in your head.
I got to tell them one. It involves you, me, our pal John DiMaggio, who we love.
Oh, boy.
And poor Phil Lamar, who was sitting in the back of a van one year at Dragon Con while you, John, and I launched into our various ages of Orson Welles. Phil's in the back trying for all he's worth to talk to his wife on the phone. Billy's, go ahead, let her rip.
I did Touch of Evil or something.
Well,
You know,
you were doing Orson.
yes, but he was in Touch of Evil.
Right.
And he was this corrupt detective, and he goes in, he's always drunk. And his name is Hank. And he comes into this fortune-telling parlor, and it's Marlene Dietrich, that's old movie actress, and she's playing like a gypsy. And he goes, "Tell me my future." And she goes, "You have no future. You used it all up." You know, and then Mo would do, we know of a remote farmhouse.
Phil was ready to jump out because
I know.
DiMaggio's doing drunk Orson.
they're French.
Masad is a beautiful light table wine for it.
California vintage.
I'm doing Mercury Theater. I can see the lights beginning to rise over Gower's Mill. I'm in a location that I don't think they can sense my breath. Phil's like, finally, you guys, shut up.
Oh, I know, but to you guys and maybe Phil, you know, it was fun for the feeble-minded, but this is what neurotic voice people do. They riff when there's no mics around, and it's being playful. You know, you play like a child. That's what you're really getting paid to do, is to play and not be afraid to play, and they'll reel you in when it's too much, in the professional situation.
We should do that again sometime. You think they could get that kid with the exophoric eye from Deliverance and the banjo, and ding, 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 Billy's over there.
Paul, my son, a lovely table. Ding, 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 ding. I will destroy your home. Ding, 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 ding,
Dueling Orsons.
God, you're cruel, man. That's cold, man. That's cold.
And unfortunately, as all good playtimes must do, our time is run out. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for his amazing guest. Real quick, going down.
We did it.
Real quick, going down, everybody. What social media outlets can we follow you on if we don't already?
Yeah, I'm gonna be. What did you want me to say?
Social media.
Social media outlets,
hey,
then we'll stick around for you.
hi. Follow me on Twitter, Alex_Polinsky, Polinsky. Instagram, my name, Alexander Polinsky, and I definitely return DMs on Twitter if you want to talk to me, and I coach.
And Alex is going to be doing another offering
stay
here
here.
immediately
I'm
after
gonna
this.
do a
Stick
little-
around. He's going to be doing a really fascinating
Yes.
visual essay on cosplay.
Cosplay, the history of radical embodiment.
I love that. Yes. Oh, what? You can catch my act at the Dunkin' Donuts at 2 a.m. tonight. Hey, what time is it? 2 o'clock? I'm on Twitter, for Christ's sakes.
Pretty easy to spell Billy West.
Yeah.
Really hard to fuck that up.
Yeah, no, you can't.
Sorry. I'm on Instagram and Twitter as well. It's Isaak Wells, just my name. Isaak Wells. That's it.
I'll be the voice confusing everybody this weekend at the Lithium Springs Wendy's. 27 bacon burger.
You can find me at, get a pen. I'll wait
People
for
doing it. I love it.
No, I'm on Instagram and Twitter, and I'm going to go to my table. You guys can totally, if you're interested, I can tell you in person. Thank you guys for being here, and definitely I encourage you to stay put and listen to Alex's once-in-a-lifetime chat on brain-changing cosplay. Thank you guys. Yes.
George Lowe, Jason Marsden, Alexander Polinsky, Isaak Wells, Billy West, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.